Good morning. Buenos dias. And welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Antonio. Our weekly worship is where we connect, share information, and inspiration. My name is Karen Davis. I've been a member here since 2007. I'm currently a member of the choir and worship committee co-chair. Thank you. Let us begin by recognizing the early name of this place, Yanaguana, the traditional lands of the Coahuiltecan people. They and all of the plants and animals were the original stewards of this land. Let us remember their care and live with the understanding that we belong to this place. At our church, we strive to enact a universal love that binds us in mutual care and affection, especially in our work for justice for all and for our planet. Our faith is all-inclusive, and all means all. If you are new to us or visiting for the first time, we welcome you to fill out a visitor's card, which you will find in your hymnal rack. We'd like to get to know you and follow up with you. Wherever you are on your life's journey, we hope you will find your place with us. A quick note for those who are new or interested in learning more about UU, we have First UU 101 at 12:15 in room 603. Thank you.
Good morning, San Antonio UUs. Let's try that one more time, a little bit more enthusiasm. Good morning, San Antonio UUs. Good morning. Outstanding. I love this shirt here. Everybody say love. Let's try that. Everybody say love. Awesome, awesome. Well, today's invocation is from the UU minister, the Reverend Seth Carrier Ladd, who writes of wind, water, and sun. Wind that whispers through the willow trees, sun that sustains us, water that washes over willing earth and weathered stones, a smile shared and savored, a child's squeal of delight as she dances in the daisies and daffodils, the quiet joy of gathered community. This is the spirit of life and love that we call forth now into this gathering. May this spirit infuse our hearts, fill our souls, and carry us forward like a wave on the ocean as we enter now into the sacred time and space. Come and let us worship together. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe that each living being is part of the interconnected web of all existence. The water that makes up about 60% of our bodies was once part of oceans, rivers, streams, plants, animals, and even other people. We cannot exist without one another because we are all made of the same recycled molecules. Let's take a moment to recognize that our very existence depends on one another, and then turn and greet the people around us, especially if there are people you don't know yet. So I invite you now to rise in body and spirit and pass the peace.
Each year in Unitarian Universalist congregations around the country, we celebrate a water communion. It is the custom to offer water as a symbol of our connection to one another. We want to share with one another not only where our water comes from, but share what it means to us, what it symbolizes in our own lives. This morning, we will have 4 periods of sharing whatever water we have brought, and we also have water there if you need to use it. First, we will have a chance to share water that reminds us that while some have abundance, others struggle in scarcity. Second, we will share water that reminds us of life's storms, both literal storms like floods and hurricanes, and also our figurative storms, our concerns, worries, frustrations, and losses. Third, we will share water that symbolizes travel, movement, and change. Finally, we'll share water that reminds us of the wellsprings of our lives. Please don't worry about which time for sharing is the right one. The great thing about symbols is that they are always open to many interpretations. So Water Communion Part 1 is titled Drought. This container, empty of water, reminds us of all who lack access to safe and affordable water. We dedicate this first water to begin our water communion with this symbol of our solidarity with the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee and all those around the world who are calling for the human right to water. We also pour out water for those farmers who have lost crops and livestock this summer because of the drought. If you would like to share water representing an awareness of scarcity in our community or our lives, please come forward using the side aisles, bringing your water, and pour a little of your water in the common bowl. If you did not bring in any water with you today, we invite you to pour some from the pitcher next to the bowl. As people come forward, please join us in singing our opening hymn, There's a River Flowing in My Soul, which is number 1007 in the Teal Hymnal.
Do it either way. You want to do the words? Go for it.
The flaming chalice unites our members in worship and symbolizes the spirit of our faith. We light the chalice today with words from the Reverend Laura Horton Ludwig. Fire and water, ancient opposites, sun and ocean, the cradle of life. Dancing flame and dancing river. We invoke them together today as we kindle our chalice flame.
We're called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all are welcome as blessings. Let us recite our covenant that articulates our promises and binds us together. Please read it together. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve unity and fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia, su sacramento de búsqueda de la verdad, y su oración es el servicio. Convivir en paz, buscar sabiduría en libertad, dar a la humanidad nuestro servicio fraternal.
The water of storms. Oops, sorry.
Not yet, not yet.
As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way.
to share water symbolizing the storms in our lives. Perhaps you or loved ones have been victims of floods or hurricanes, or perhaps your storms have consisted of concerns and sorrows, confusion and frustration. Allow this vessel to be one of receiving and healing as it absorbs your storm. Yes, and that's it. Each Sunday, no, that's what I'm doing. Aren't you?
Each Sunday, we take some time to pause and take stock of how we are feeling. How is your heart? And so, beloveds, I ask you to take a moment and ask yourself, how is your heart today? How is your soul? Is there pain or sorrow or fear? Or is there joy and peace and abundance? No matter what is on your heart today, remember that you are loved and welcome here. I invite you now to come forward, if you wish, to light a candle in honor of those joys and sorrows so that we may share them with you. From our community book of life, we have 4 entries this week. The first from Tavis and Sarah. Life is a mystery. Why this past week we had the death of our beloved Glenna, I cannot say. What is not a question is the unrelenting love and support we send to Vaughn and those also affected by her loss. Then there's prayers for our sister-in-law who is hospitalized. Lauren writes, I love my mom. And this week, Americo Kige, is that Kige or Kiku? Kige, Dan Weber will turn 11 years old. Feliz cumpleaños. Feliz cumpleaños and many, many more. I invite you to join me in a moment of prayer or meditation. I invite you to center yourself, find your breath, which is a way to get in contact with our bodies. It's a bit warm in here this morning. Everybody feels the heat. I feel the heat. But I imagine it's still cooler than it is outside. So let's say amen to that. For all our joys, sorrows, and concerns, may we feel empathy and compassion. May the caring of our community offer a space of deep kindness, loving, and just action. We have a prayer by my colleague, the retired Reverend Gretchen Haley, titled, No, You Are Not Alone, and discover the way our voices rise. For this moment, know only that you are loved, that you are safe and whole and loved. Know that you belong here among us, here upon this earth, in your body, however tired or broken your heart may be, whatever fear, disappointment, anger you carry, for this hour, know that you are not alone. Feel the presence of others surrounding you, breathing beside you and with you. Discovering together the way our voices rise and fall together in harmony and hope. Claim here the resilient freedom, the choice for love, for light, to live with joy and gratitude and praise as a form of resistance. We pray also for those who are seeking shelter from the heat, those seeking water from thirst, those seeking repairs from health, difficulties with income, difficulties with monthly or weekly bills, those awaiting a diagnosis for an unknown affliction or ailment. We hold these and the prayers and thoughts of our hearts into the silence. We hold these prayers and thoughts and meditations in our hearts in the name of all persons present and absent, known and unknown, remembered and forgotten, and all helpers of humankind. Ashe, and may it be so. I'd like to invite those who are young or young at heart to come down for the story, Wisdom. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Well, today we have a story from my colleague, the Reverend Chris Bice, in the UU Church of Chattanooga, Tennessee, called Higgins, A Drop with a Dream. Once upon a time, there was a drop of water named Higgins. Higgins was no ordinary drop of water. He was a drop with a dream. Higgins lived in a valley where it had not rained in a very long time. So all the lovely green grass was turning brown. All the beautiful flowers were wilting, and all the trees were starting to droop. Higgins had a dream that one day the valley would be a beautiful place again. But what could he do? What could he do? After all, he was only a drop of water. One day, Higgins decided to travel and tell others about his dream. All the other drops listened very politely, but no one believed that his dream would come true. Higgins said, "One, get your head out of the clouds. You can't spend your whole life dreaming." Higgins decided that he had to do something to make his dream come true. So he began to think and think and think. One day, as he was walking by a dusty, rusty old bucket, he got an idea. And he thought to himself, if enough of us drops got together in this bucket, there would be enough water to sprinkle on a few flowers to help them grow and become beautiful again. Eagerly, Higgins told everyone about his great idea, but everyone thought he was being foolish. That Higgins is nothing but a dreamer, they said. Higgins decided that he had to do something to convince the others that he was right. So he said to them, I don't know about you, but I'm getting in that bucket. I hope some of you will join me. Then there might be enough water to at least help some of the flowers grow beautiful again. So Higgins ran as hard as he could, hopped way up in the air, and landed with a kerplunk at the bottom of the bucket. And there he sat, just one drop in a bucket. For a long time, Higgins was very lonely. It seemed like no one else was going to join him. But after a while, some of the other drops could see that the grass was dying and the flowers were wilting and the trees were drooping. They all agreed that something must be done. Something must be done. Suddenly, one drop shouted, I'm going in the bucket with Higgins. And he leaped through the air and landed kerplunk in the bucket. Then two other drops yelled, wait for us! And they hopped through the air and landed in the bucket. Then 10 drops jumped through the air into the bucket. Then 30, then 50, then hundreds of drops came from all around just to hop in the bucket. Soon the bucket was completely full of water. But there were still more drops that wanted to join, so they found another bucket and hopped in. Before long, there were 2 buckets of water, then 3, then 4, then 10, then hundreds, then thousands of buckets of water. Along came a powerful breeze that blew over all the buckets, and all the water flowed together to make a mighty stream. Everywhere the water flowed, the grass turned green again, and the flowers bloomed, and the trees stood tall and straight once more. All this happened because Higgins had a dream, and his dream came true because he knew that although he was just a drop in the bucket, enough drops in the bucket make a bucket full. And when there are enough buckets with the wind behind them, then justice will roll down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. That's your story of wisdom for today. You can go in peace. Part 3 of our water communion is the waters that carry us. Now I invite you to share water that reminds you of the changes and transformations in your lives, your journeys, whether spiritual or physical. It's giving time, church. You're supposed to say, start getting happy and glad. One of my favorite people, Dave Ramsey, some of you may know, says that generosity is the highest virtue, or amongst the highest virtues. He's a guy who encourages people to live debt-free, and once you become debt-free, your task and assignment is to give away as much of yourself, your time, and your money as you can. So when I say it's giving time, I want us to get excited about giving. So let me try that again. It is giving time, church. Awesome. Well, we drink from water from wells we did not dig. We eat fruit from trees we did not plant. We all benefit from each other's labors. In this spirit, I encourage you to give generously so that we may support one another, our congregation, and our larger community.
Below me, I feel the motion walking through these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still, my dry heart can't say I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port I have known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my new home. Sun, my sea, my sail, my rudder, as I plow the starry sea, leaning over the edge of wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all my kindred pilgrim souls, making my way past the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. My thanks for my ways upon me, held my great winds urging me on. Great the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the world is the new boat home.
We are blessed by the rain falling from the heavens, and I wish some would fall on us today. I know it's falling somewhere in the world. May we also be blessed by the generosity of your gifts. May it be so. Has anyone here ever slept on a hard floor? A few hands go up, you know how uncomfortable that is. Well, we were sleeping on an air mattress on a hard floor. It wasn't quite as hard as sleeping right on the floor, but on Tuesday our household goods came, so we are now sleeping in a bed. We're still waiting to get some of our stuff in, so the mattress is on the floor, but at least it's elevated and it's soft, so we're comfortable. Well, I want to start today with a water story, since we're doing water communion. And this story is a true story based on my experience yesterday. Yesterday I was out at a lake here in San Antonio, and just as I pulled up to the lake to park in my truck, a couple came up behind me in their black Dodge Ram truck. So we were there to fish for what are known as red drum. And we were both fishing for a while, and then somebody from the park came up and told them they had to pay for their parking spot because they were parked where the reserved picnic area is. So the young lady left, and the guy was behind, and then he began to kind of chat me up, asking me about how often I go out there and, my way of fishing, and we just started having a good time chatting together. Well, then she came back, and we were just there, just kind of hanging out. I was in my truck. They were there under the pavilion. And finally, I remembered something that we all got as an assignment this week. Anybody here watch Michelle Obama on Tuesday night? Well, she gave us Homework. Does anybody remember the homework? Do something is one of them, but she also gave us another assignment, which is to make sure all your friends and family have what? A voting plan. So I was sitting there watching them and kind of going back and forth. So I said, this is a good time to take this homework assignment seriously. They're both young people, and turns out they're both 21, single. And so I walked over to them, and as gently and as friendly as I could, I said, do y'all have a voting plan? And in unison, almost with great joy, they said, Trump all the way. It caught me off guard. I said, so I take this as the kind of a learning time for me to learn and to get to know people. So I said, really? They said, yeah. I said, well, tell me why. So they began to talk about why Trump was the favorite that they were going to vote for, and the young lady began to riff off this, that, and the other that she had heard in the media. And I listened to her for a while, and finally at one point I said, well, can I just ask some questions about Trump and maybe talk about Harris? And she was not willing to listen to me. So she kept on talking, and finally I realized that when I did speak, she was going to cut me off. It wasn't going to go anywhere. So I said, well, let me just get out of this one. So I just basically walked away. Well, I know that's not a good way to leave a conversation when you're trying to build bridges with people. So I went back to my truck and I sat there and I pondered the situation, and I thought, well, how can I repair this and find some common ground between those two people, these two young people that I feel some fondness for, and myself. So I thought, what can I do? What can I say? So I went back over there after they had come back together, and I said, tell me where in San Antonio can I get the best margarita? And for that, their eyes got bright, they started smiling, and they started listing off all kinds of places where I can go get good Mexican food and something good to drink. So the moral of the story is, when you're doing this work, this homework, be ready for surprises. And be ready to have your own voting plan response in place in case someone comes at you with something that you aren't expected. We ended up having a really good time together, and Ron has a picture of the two young people. Sophia and Gino, they're holding one of the fish that I caught yesterday. They're both Latinos, Latinx people, and we exchanged numbers and all kinds of stuff, so I might see them again. So it wasn't all lost. We brought it together, and there you have it. One result from asking, do people have a voting plan? And I'm sure that you're going to be asking people as you go along also. I didn't hear you. My vote cancels theirs. Okay. Well, I want to tell you about the incredible and terrifying story of the Johnstown flood of 1889. This is a tale of nature's fury, human error, and one of the worst disasters in American history. Imagine a peaceful Friday afternoon in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. The town sits in a valley with the Conemaugh River flowing nearby. But unknown to most residents, a disaster was brewing 14 miles upstream. There, perched high in the mountains, was the South Fork Dam. It held back Lake Conemaugh, an enormous artificial lake owned by a fancy fishing and hunting club for wealthy industrialists like Andrew Carnegie and Henry Clay Frick. For years, the dam had been neglected. The club had lowered the dam to allow carriages to cross and hadn't maintained the spillways properly. As heavy rains pounded the area, the lake's water level rose ominously. On that fateful day, May 31st, the dam's caretaker noticed something terrifying. A small leak had sprung in the dam. He and others desperately tried to reinforce it, but it was too late. At 3:10 p.m., with a deafening roar, the dam burst. What happened next was apocalyptic. A wall of water and debris 60 feet high and moving at 40 miles per hour thundered down the narrow valley towards Johnstown. The flood picked up everything in its path: houses, trees, railroad cars, even locomotives. As the wall of destruction neared Johnstown, telegraph operators desperately sent warnings. But in an era before radio or telephones, most people had no idea what was coming. The flood hit Johnstown with unimaginable force. Entire neighborhoods were swept away in seconds. People scrambled for their rooftops, only to have their houses torn from their foundations. The lucky ones managed to grab onto debris and hold on for dear life as they were carried miles downstream. In just 10 minutes, Johnstown was destroyed. But the horror wasn't over. At the stone bridge downstream, debris piled up, creating a dam of wreckage that caught fire. Many who had survived the initial flood now faced a raging inferno. When it was all over, 2,209 people had lost their lives. The disaster shocked the nation and led to some of the first major disaster relief efforts in American history. The Johnstown flood remains a chilling reminder of the power of water and the importance of infrastructure maintenance. It's a story of how a peaceful river can, in the blink of an eye, become an unstoppable force of destruction. 31 years after the Johnstown disaster in 1920, the poet Langston Hughes wrote these words as he was crossing the Mississippi River outside of St. Louis on his way to Mexico to visit his father. He wrote, I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. Well, I too have known rivers, for I was born in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where the little Washita River runs. I never saw that river as a child, and it's perhaps because my parents were not river people. They didn't take us fishing or hunting or hiking. Those were things that I learned as an adult, actually after 40. I grew up in Columbus, Georgia, on the banks of the Chattahoochee River, which runs from the Blue Ridge Mountains of Georgia to Lake Seminole in Florida and meets the Flint River. The Chattahoochee River was something to be avoided because of its swift current and toxic waste. When I was in college, it took on another history when the serial killer Wayne Williams dumped children's bodies in the river at various spots in Atlanta. We passed over the Chattahoochee River Bridge as kids on the way to Phoenix City, just over the Georgia-Alabama line, on our way to Tuskegee and to Selma. The Chattahoochee is now the site of great fishing and whitewater rafting. I've never witnessed a flood in real time, nor had to stack sandbags in anticipation of one. But I have seen the aftermath of great flooding, and it is horrific. My Air Force unit deployed from Fort Worth to New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. I landed in Belle Chase with my commander, just south of Lake Pontchartrain, and made my way by Humvee to Children's Hospital in the Garden District of New Orleans, where the unit was camped out in Children's Hospital. There was no power, so we used generators for basic electricity, for fans and running computers and having a little light at night. And they brought in water in these huge military vehicles. The city was a ghost town by and large, and most of the flood water by then had receded back into the sewers and the Mississippi. But the remnants were a powerful reminder of nature's brutal force upon things human-made. Fast forward to July 2024, when I spent 10 days standing by choice in Soldotna, Alaska, in the Kenai River, which hovers around 45 degrees in the summer, catching wild Alaska salmon, also known as reds. The hazy green water is beautiful to watch as it flows in from the ocean, and dark enough to camouflage the fish that sometimes swim between your legs. You can feel them brush up on your legs and your waders as they are swimming slowly, it seems, but determined to get where nature has determined they must go. You have brought your water from various places, or you have dipped water from our common vessel. Pouring the water into a common bowl symbolizes the conjoining of humanity and blood that flows through human veins. It symbolizes our shared heritage as human beings whose forebears migrated from distant lands, many on boats that sail the oceans, seas, and rivers, and some who came by land. They came in search of a common destiny, a shared purpose, and the dream of a new future and the promise of opportunity. This year, I encourage us not to get sentimental about our summer journeys, although I can imagine they were spectacular, fun, and soothing for the soul. Instead, I call upon us to remember those who live in deserts where water is scarce and as precious as gold. Remember those who live with a thirst unquenched and must tread miles with vessels on their heads and travel those same miles back home. Remember those struggling along the River Jordan, which runs near Palestine and is shared with Israel. Remember the people on the African continent whose thirst goes unquenched by drought and over-farming. Remember those across this great country where heavy rains, which result from climate change, have washed away homes and everything in its path, like the 1889 Johnstown flood. But here's what I want you to do. We got the homework assignment this week from many great speakers who were speaking pitch-perfect messages about our freedoms. I want you to adopt the mindset of river people. Nate Silver, who founded the 538 blog that was famous for predicting elections, until it wasn't when Trump won, uses the term the river in his latest book, On the Edge, The Art of Risking Everything. He describes the river, and I quote, as a place for people who are very analytical, but also highly competitive. Other traits of river people include contrarianism and the ability to separate, to view things in the abstract, to play devil's advocate. Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds a lot like UUs to me. The invitation is for you to put that mindset to work. Remember the people who live near the Great Lakes, Michigan and Superior. They are river people who swim in the Detroit and Saginaw rivers. I'm talking about our friends in Michigan. Then there are the people who reside in the vicinity of Lake Erie. They depend on the Susquehanna, Delaware, and Ohio rivers. You have to especially think about them. These are patriots and heroes in the great state of Pennsylvania. Lake Erie shares its borders with another important state, Wisconsin. But don't stop there. Remember the good Americans who seek to have their thirst quenched with the elixir of freedom, who stay near Lake Okeechobee and Lake George down in Florida. As you head north from there, you'll find yourself on the banks of the Savannah River, a place where there was a dreadful history of slavery, but now a place where hope has made a comeback. These good people of Georgia will offer you Southern hospitality, as they will here, and say to you, bless your heart. Our fellow UUs and patriots there are especially thirsty because their voting lines are so long, and it's against the law to give people in line to vote a drink of water. That's the level of nonsense so bad that Larry David and the Curb Your Enthusiasm crew couldn't resist making fun of it. They even staged a show with a fake trial with a water boy on the stand. But don't stop there. Keep heading north until you get to Lake Norman. If you go east, you'll run into the Roanoke River or Cape Fear. The good neighbors of North Carolina need a hand from us Texans. Now, if you've been paying attention to the culture, you've figured out where I'm going and where I'm headed, because you know this is a rare moment in history, and a flood of joy and hope is running through human veins and human beings who love our country and freedom. It's a spiritual moment, my friends, that we can't let pass by without getting activated. From North Kakalaki, I want you to take a wide swing and head west. Go past Texas to the dry land of Arizona and keep looking until you reach Lake Mead. It's a border state with many people needing to quench their thirst. As you know, it's bone dry in Arizona, but it's familiar territory to UUs who marched there several years ago. The Colorado and Gila rivers run through it. These, my friends, are the swing states. They need us to quench their thirst for freedom and save us all from the hypocrisy that is tearing apart our nation. Today we'll be talking about that hypocrisy with the Project 2025 after this service. You see, we are one. We all have known rivers and depended upon them. Here, the San Antonio River and the Trinity River are calling each of us to do what? There you go. Say it again. Do something. Let's say it again. Do something. We need to create a human flood of letter writing, phone banking, UUing the vote, and contributing. Flood those swing states, neighbors, with love, support, and allyship. Except this flood is not about destruction. It's about disrupting the obstruction of justice that is number 45. Now, I'm not trying to diss on anybody who may be a fan of 45, but I'm just saying we need to take our freedom seriously. This is about reconstruction of hope, the reconstruction of truth, the reconstruction of family, the reconstruction of normalcy, and the reconstruction of patriotism. And in case you didn't know it, UUs are patriots too. Nothing rhymes better with USA than UUA. So let's say that together. UUA loves the USA. All right, come on. The UUA loves the UUSA. We are constructing the future of our country. We're keeping hope on the comeback trail by putting it on our heads and our backs and carrying it across the rivers. Amen. Ashe, and may it be so.
As we conclude our water communion, I invite you to bring to mind water that reminds you of the wellsprings of your life, the water that sustains you when you are feeling empty, the joys that give you hope and buoy you up. As people come, you can come forward and pour some more water in, but perhaps we'll do that after the benediction.
Our benediction is from Kaylee Rice, All Rivers Run to the Sea. It starts like a drop, then a trickle, a burble, a rush of water bubbling toward its destination, and finally the wide, endless sea. All rivers run to the sea. Today you brought water, poured it into the common bowl. Though our experiences have differed, these waters mingle, signifying our common humanity. Today you came and shared with this sacred community. May you depart this sacred space hearts filled with hope for new beginnings, a fresh start. Go forth, but return to this community where the rivers of tears may be shed, where dry souls are watered, where your joy bubbles, where your life cup overflows, where deep in your spirit you have found in this place a home. All rivers run to the sea. Amen. Ashe. May go in peace.